Hey everybody, Scotty Kunes here, and I'm coming at you with another car convo with Joe Thomas, who just got back from his stint in Germany coaching the Munich Ravens. I'm excited to talk with him about it, and we're going to take a ride in the 2024 Cadillac Escalade. Hey everybody, Scott Kunes here, and I'm here with Hall of Famer Joe Thomas again, and our favorite Badger of all time, for sure, here in Kunes country. So, Joe, thanks again for coming down, and we're so happy to be partners with you. The Iron Man, and kind of always, you talked a lot about how, you do your job, and that's kind of what we always talk about too. We always want to provide the best service and make sure that our customers are the best taken care of. Obviously mistakes happen, but we try to train and make sure that we're doing that. And so you embody that and that integrity. So thanks again for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure. Happy to be here today.
And we are here in the 2024 Escalade, which is, this is it for terms of large luxury SUVs. I've driven a lot of vehicles, but this is kind of it. So
it's pretty fancy. I see you got some car seats in the back, so it fits the whole family.
Fits the whole family. It's got the big motor in it. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to drive. But you were just recently in Germany, working with the Munich Ravens, right?
Yep.
How was that?
Yeah,
experience?
it was awesome. We moved in January, right at the beginning of January. Moved the family over there because we were bringing our 4 kids, and we wanted to make sure that we had enough time to get there before their school semester started, and we put them in international school in Munich. And then as soon as we got there, I hit the ground running coaching the Munich Ravens offensive line, which is a professional team within the European League of Football, which is the biggest football league throughout Europe, outside of the States. And we had an amazing experience, giving the kids an opportunity to go and live and go to school overseas and abroad. It was, I think, something that we appreciate tremendously right now, but it's one of those things where you only start to see the benefit the longer that you go being back home and starting to reflect back on just the life that you had over there, the challenges, the adversity that you faced, and how those kids were able to see those hurdles, get over them, and then just build confidence in themselves that, if something bad happens at school or in sports when you're over here, it's okay, because I know how to take on challenges, and I know how to work and deal with any problems that you do have, because I've done it before.
Right.
And I did it in Germany, and I can certainly do it in the States.
Well, and that's character, right? I mean, that's you don't build character in good times.
Right. Exactly.
You build character through adversity and stepping out of the comfort zone and growing that.
Yeah.
It's always a challenge when you're raising kids, right? To decide if you're how protective. You got the helicopter moms, right? Yeah. And I'm not quite that, but it's I'm more of that. Push them out the door. I think dads are more like that than
for sure,
moms, right?
Yeah.
They're a little less protective.
Yeah, no doubt.
Go rub some dirt on it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So how long have the Munich Ravens been around?
So this was their second season that I coached them. So pretty new franchise, and that was part of the struggle of being over there as a coach who came from playing in the NFL, is you're used to a level of resources with a budget and trainers and practice facilities and weight rooms that you just don't have when you're a new franchise, especially over in Europe. And the model that we adapted when we were over there, that started kind of as a little bit of a joke, was, hey, it's all part of the experience, right? Because I knew that there was going to be plenty of stuff that was messed up that we were just going to have to deal with because it was out of our control. But trying to find a way to spin the negative to the positive, use it as a way to kind of bring us together as a group and make us a better team in the end. And I think it did make us a much better team, going through that adversity and pulling together in those moments with just that little phrase, hey, it's all part of the experience. And you could see it, and I think it built the resiliency and the toughness amongst our offensive linemen, because they knew quickly that it's not what happens to you, it's how you respond.
Right.
And we used that in practice on game day, and it was great to see them be able to bounce back when the other team would score a touchdown, or maybe we'd fumble, we'd have a turnover, something that happens out of our control. but you just have that confidence to know, like, hey, this is where we are. Let's make the best of it from this point forward.
Yeah, find that silver lining and build up.
Yeah.
Again, build character.
That's right.
You're working with young guys, and it's an interesting thing I have in my career now. With as many locations and everything as we have, I find myself. I feel like I'm more of a coach than anything else. I'm not selling cars anymore. I'm not working with customers as much as I'm trying to coach and guide. But it's a rewarding experience, right?
Oh man, I came back to the States and I live right next to Luke Fickell, Badger coach, and so we get a chance to chat. The kids are about the same age, at least as younger kids are, and so we spend time together because when you're an adult and you got kids, you hang out with the parents that have the kids that are friends of your kids.
Yeah.
Not that I don't like Fickell as a human being, but that's kind of why we spend as much time together. And he's like, hey, did you catch the coaching bug when you're over there? And I said, I really did, because there's something that's just hard to put your finger on sometimes about being involved in somebody's life almost on a daily basis, seeing them make improvements, the trust that you build between the two of you, and then just seeing the happiness that it brings somebody when they're reaching their goals and they're reaching that potential. And I think that's why it's rewarding being a parent, but it's even a more accelerated scale when you're coaching, because you're seeing that improvement from January through September when I was out there coaching the class.
Sure. Yeah, it is. It's, I was fortunate enough to just recently hear Arthur Brooks. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's a behavioral scientist, and he's an expert in happiness.
Yeah.
And actually he teaches at Harvard Business School, and his class is one of the most popular classes, and it's about happiness.
Yeah.
And that is one thing that as you get to our age, you start to transfer from that really kind of that doer and driver to more now coach and advisor.
Yeah.
And embracing that role is kind of the secret to happiness a little bit.
I love it because you're so right. Like, a lot of people ask me, oh, you played 11 years in the NFL, you don't have to work. Why are you trying to build these businesses, and why are you still working in NFL media and stuff? And I'm like, well, you got to have something that gets you out of bed in the morning every day. You got to have that goal that drives you to be your best, right? Because as humans, that's just how we're wired. And unless you're pushing yourself towards something at all times, it's easy to just sort of take the easy path. And then after weeks and months of taking the easy way all the time, you're missing that happiness that being somebody who could be influential in other people's lives, that happiness that brings them. And the happiest that I've been just reflecting on the last year is when I'm coaching my son's flag football team, and they're seeing the results of the progress and the practice that you put in. And when I'm coaching Munich Ravens and go out there on game day and they do the things that you coached them up on, and then you see the happiness in them, and then you feed off of that, right? It's, to me, I think the older I get, the more I realize that, my own happiness is built on helping other people reach their goals and have that happiness, rather than being self-serving and trying to reach happiness through my own gains or my own material things.
Yeah, you reach a point where those things stop mattering.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's a relationship life.
Yeah, and you get to coach your sons, which is always fun. I have a stepson, and he's starting to get into basketball, so I'm looking forward to that. But my daughters, are volleyball players, and when I try to coach them, it's like, Dad, you don't even know.
Yeah, right. I know. That's the thing. My
teenage
oldest
girls.
11. I don't thankfully we haven't reached that moment yet, but I know it's coming, and I'm not ready for it, because right now they still listen to me. And I love taking those times when you're driving home from games or practice, and not overwhelming them with little bits of advice. And
you want to,
but it's like, all right, I got to pick and choose, because they're going to tune you out at some point, especially if you give them a bunch of stuff. But it's great when something happens in practice or life and you kind of tie those two together. We were playing Monopoly with the kids the other night, and my youngest daughter's 6, and she just was not following the rules. Like most 6-year-olds, she was not buying them. My 11-year-old was getting so frustrated, and I told her, hey, I said, Logan, sometimes you're going to be on the basketball court and your teammates are going to be frustrating you. And if you let that bring you down and frustrate you, it's going to affect your own play, and then it's going to affect how you're helping your team succeed. And I was like, it's like this. That's just your sister. She's 6. You just got to accept that and be able to make the best of it, right? Try to flip it to a positive. And I think that's a great thing about being a dad, is being able to use just little life lessons like that. Maybe it's a game of Monopoly, and try to tie it into something that's really important to her, which is her basketball.
You know, my daughters still talk about, there's a version of Monopoly out there called, and my daughters are older than your kids, so I've been through this, right? But there's a version out there called Cheaters Monopoly.
Cheaters, how do you for my kids?
Yes. So you got to get that one. They love it. They love playing that one because you have to try to steal from the bank.
Yeah, nice.
Steal a turn. Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, it's fun. So you're back in Wisconsin now.
Yep.
And what did you miss most about Wisconsin? Or the
there was a lot of things. Yeah, well, there was a lot of things. Outside of the obvious, which would be like friends, family, things like that. I missed being able to just drive 30 minutes and be out in the country, be somewhere that feels remote. There's no people, getting out into nature, doing those things that have always given me peace as a guy who likes to hunt and fish. Just those moments of solitude that you don't really get in Europe because there's just so many people everywhere.
Yeah.
And there's just not as big open spaces as we have here over in Germany.
Well, I know there's a lot of German influence in Wisconsin here. Was there any similarities to Wisconsin?
There was. Well,
some stuff?
So I'm
obviously
like 100% German. So I grew up eating similar type foods, and I think that was probably one of the biggest similarities was the food, because they have a lot of wursts, bratwurst, bockwurst, all those type of foods. They have this thing called Leberkäse, which is kind of like a Spam meatloaf, which kind of reminds me of some of the meat that I ate as a kid.
Sure.
The casseroles that I grew up on, the hot dishes. They've got a lot of similar type foods, right?
Sure.
Potatoes. You ate mashed potatoes or baked potato like every night growing up. They're big on their Kartoffelnudeln, basically like a potato dumpling, mashed potatoes, sauerkrauts, like all those same type of things the immigrants brought over to Wisconsin. And so that was a big thing. But I think the culture and the attitude is similar in a lot of respects. Like in Germany, it's very straightforward. It's like a very honest culture, very trustworthy. People are going to tell you what they think about something. And I think seeing it with my own parents, like with their German roots and stuff, it was like, oh, that makes sense how my mom is. Like she is, and she just tells you how it is. And there's not like, she tells you something that maybe is hard news. It's like, well, that's just the way it is. Like, I would feel bad if I sugarcoated you and told you any differently. And that's a lot how the German culture is too.
Yeah. Yeah, so probably similar kind of Midwestern values.
For sure.
Hard work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, interesting. And so what are the plans now that you're back in the States?
Yeah, so trying to jump back into where I left off with the work I'm doing with NFL media, calling games for TV and radio, working with the Browns a little bit, and then just coming back and trying to be a great dad and trying to build some of the businesses that I'm working on. We've got the farm west of Madison that we're raising Angus and Wagyu beef.
That's awesome.
Has really taken off.
And what's that called?
Six Springs Hall of Fame beef, after a guy I know that was in the Hall of Fame for the NFL.
Yeah.
And it's been cool because it really just started as a hobby, and it's been a passion. And I think you guys would know more than anybody, like if you follow things that make you excited and that you're passionate about, like without even trying, you'll have success if you treat people the right way and you have the right values. And so we got a cow because my kids and my wife wanted a pet cow. And all of a sudden, it was time to have that cow go to cow heaven. And we ate it and we're like, wow, this is really good. How do we do this
really
again?
Tasty.
I started giving it to some friends, some chef friends in Madison. They were like, this is good. You could sell this stuff. And then we're like, well, we got the space, might as well try to grow the herd a little bit, but still keep the same values of how we're raising our animals from birth until their last breath is on our farm, eating our hay and alfalfa that's baled for the winter, and then eating our pasture that's along the Blue River in the summer. And it turns out that when you treat your animals the right way and you take care of them, give them the right things to eat, low stress environment, they're going to produce and create some amazing flavors when you put it on your plate.
Yeah, absolutely. We're very big into that as well. My daughters are into 4-H, and they raise swine, and
Nice.
We definitely try to support all of our communities that we're in, the local 4-H, and it is something special when somebody takes care and time and puts it into the animal or whatever it is in the business that they're in. Trying to shop local is always that's always the way to go.
And it's been great because we got to hire 3 kids that they started out in junior high, like mowing lawn for us, and now they're running the cattle operation, and this has become their job. And so it's really cool. Also, I'll get back. So we've got about 70 right now, but we're trying to grow, and right now we need to grow our barn because we don't have enough space right now when we're calving in the winter and in the spring. So we're actively working on that, but it's a slow process. But I'm not in a rush because it's a hobby that has become a business. It's not what's paying the mortgage for anything. So we want to make sure that we're just doing it the right way. And I'm curious, what breed of pig are you guys raising?
So my girls have done just about everything.
Okay.
They've done Chesters, and they really haven't done Durocs that I can remember. But they do a lot of Hampshires, crossbreds.
Okay.
And Chesters. Primarily those are the ones that they kind of show. They've shown at State Fair, and they've done their own breeding as well.
Nice.
So they really enjoy it, and it's a great. I encourage anybody to get their kids in a 4-H or have their kids be part of it, because not only do they learn just incredible work ethic, right? But they do learn about where their food actually comes from and what that means. Which I think is huge. I think that's a pretty hot topic in the nation right now.
For sure.
With RFK and everybody else kind of talking about it. It's going to become more and more important. So that's awesome. So it's an Angus Wagyu cross.
So we started with an Angus Simmental cross, and they were awesome. And then there's a farm kind of close to Madison, Kittleson Farms, that raise 100% Akiushi Wagyu, which is the highest graded Wagyu beef. And we were able to buy some of their cows, and then we're like, ooh, this is pretty good too. And if we can raise this the most premium breed in the manner which we're raising our Angus Simmentals, I'm like, you imagine how good that is going to be. So we've started to skew our herd in that direction, and we'll start, as our cows age out, we're going to phase those out and replace them with 100% Wagyu. So we've got about half and half right now of Angus Simmental and then Wagyu, but we're moving in that direction to be all Wagyu. But it was interesting being over in Europe because Iberico pigs, when I was in Spain, was the first time I'd ever had anything else. They call it the Wagyu of pork, and I'm like, all right, maybe we should get into the pork business because if we can do this,
I might know a couple of girls that know how to do it.
Exactly. I'm like, can you imagine if we could do this with Iberico? And I don't even know if it's a breed you can bring to the States.
I looked into Mangalitza. Have you ever seen those? Those are an Italian breed of pig with an incredible amount of fat on them. Like kind of like a Wagyu, like they say that Iberico is, but Mangalitza is another one. They're like a woolly pig too.
Interesting.
Furry, So an interesting one. So it might be something there.
We'll have to download offline about that, because I'm like really interested in the Iberico because it is really fantastic.
It is
the Secreto, which is like it's like a muscle, like somewhere behind their back. I don't know. You're a chef, so you probably know that one. But like when I went somewhere, either in Spain or when we were back in Germany, Italy, and I saw that on the menu, I was like, don't have to look any further. I'm going with that. It really is awesome.
Oh, that's great. Well, we're coming up to the end here, Joe, and again, I want to thank you for being a partner with us here at Kunes, and you got to see the new Delavan Holdings building that we have here. That we've been able to kind of centralize some things with Lake Lawn and Kunes RV and Kunes Auto and some other things there. So thanks for making the trip down and talking with our employees and meeting everybody there. We talked about kind of what you missed the most in Wisconsin, and what are you going to miss the most about Germany?
Probably the Helles beer, because the beer over there is, everyone's like, oh, it's different, and I didn't believe it because I think we got great beer here, but it really is, I think, different because they have a German purity law in their beer. They're only allowed 4 ingredients, whatever it is, like, your hops, your grain, your water, and your yeast, and that, like, that's it. So no preservatives. They don't let you put in anything else. And so you're drinking stuff that's been brewed very, very recently.
Sure.
And there's a crispness to the Helles and a freshness that I became a big fan of, and it's a big part of the culture, the beer culture over there.
Yeah.
So I would say that's the thing that's high on my mind, and it's cool to actually make alcohol-free beer that actually tastes really awesome too.
Okay.
So big fan of that as well.
I
But
would have to try some of that.
yeah, it's good. The best one is Augustiner or Tegernseer, but I don't know if they sell it in the States because they don't.
I actually,
ship it over.
and I've been sober now for 5 years, and but I would say Heineken Zero tastes better than normal alcoholic Heineken.
Yeah.
To me, and not that I've had a normal Heineken in 5 years, but that Heineken Zero, I think it just loses kind of that edge that the alcohol gives it. You really taste that beer flavor.
Yeah, it's great. But I would say outside of the beer, just how close you are to so many different countries.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Like, we were an hour's drive from Austria, 2 hours from Switzerland, 3 hours from Italy, 3 hours from Czech Republic. And so we got to do a lot of travel with the family, and it's like a weekend, it's like going to Chicago for a day or two. It's going to Italy, So having those experiences was phenomenal.
That's awesome. Well, thanks again.
Yeah,
Thanks
my
for being
pleasure.
part of it.
Yeah, thank you so
Appreciate
much,
it.
Scott.
Thanks.